Oh hi, my name's Jon, and this lesson is about improvisation in a nutshell. Improvisation means making stuff up, and that's it, basically. End of lesson. No, there's a little bit more. Steps to improvising. Step 1, I recommend learning a scale. Any scale, whether it's major, minor or the modes, learn a scale. It doesn't really matter which one. Learning meaning learn all the notes in the scale so that you can play them in any order, not just ascending or descending. Try to randomly pick notes from the scale and play them with a consistent fingering. All of our scale notes should have the same, or each scale note should have its own consistent fingering. Example, in the major scale, in this position I'm playing in, which most people call position 1, I'll always start with my second finger, and then fourth, and then first. So the fingering to this scale is 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4. Those are our fingers. 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4. If you know the fingering, you can't help but play the scale as long as you start on the right string and you stick to one fret under one finger. So 4 fingers, 4 frets. That's it. The next step in learning the scale in a most musical fashion is to learn the note numbers. Now each of these notes we can number, can't we? There's 8 notes there, so we can number those 1 to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those are called note numbers, sometimes called degrees of the scale, steps of the scale, or scale tones, I suppose, but I call them note numbers. Seems to work. Numbers 1 to 8, and 8 is the same letter note as 1, whatever letter note 1 is, it doesn't really matter. So that's an octave. The note numbers are vital for opening up music theory and understanding everything about what you're playing, especially when it comes onto chords, but that's a later video. The best way to know whether you know your note numbers, if you think you do, you'll find out whether you do if you play note rows. Now, note rows are simply lists of note numbers at random. You can make up your own. Just write a set of numbers on a sheet of paper from 1 to 8 randomly. The notes don't make a memorable tune unless you're lucky, so you cannot hear as you practice them whether you're playing the right note or not, because it's not like a melody that you can, or that you know already, or you can recall quite easily. You have to rely purely on your note number recall, which is why it's a brilliant exercise. If you can play through a whole note row sheet without making any mistakes, then you're pretty good with your note numbers, and then you can just speed it up and see how fast you can get before you make a mistake, or make a mistake eventually. Also, don't just play from the beginning, otherwise we may well start to learn to memorise those note numbers, which we don't want to do. Each time, start on a different row, and the more rows the better. The note numbers, as I put on the screen there, obviously look a bit daunting, but they're only random numbers, that's all. We can just pick one row for now and play the notes in the row. Here's how to practice a note row. Incidentally, you'll notice that there are some 9s on the note rows. This is simply note 2, but an octave higher. So note 9 is one note above note 8. So we can incorporate all of those 9 note numbers because of our 9 numerals, which is really good practice, especially when we come to play over chords. I'll use the same finger pattern and the same major scale as I did before, but like I said, the scale doesn't matter. What position you play in doesn't matter. So this is row C, if I can see the screen without my glasses on. So as a reference, that's note 1. So what have we got here? We've got notes 7, 6, 2, 4, 9, 7, 8, 9, 2, 1, 4, 5, 8, 1, 7, 5, 9, 7, 8, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 1, 3, 2, 5, 5, 9, actually played that before, but I know my note numbers reasonably well. That's it. Great exercise, especially if you're struggling to remember where your note numbers are, because that didn't really sound like a tune, did it? Or possibly it did, from some bizarre progressive rock band from the 70s. And you can always do it in reverse. So I could play 5, 1, sorry, 9, 5, 5, 2, 3, 1, 3, 1, 4, 3, 2, 8, 7, 9, etc., etc. So they're very versatile. You can play them from front to back, top to bottom, and God forbid if you ever actually memorise the whole lot, you can then make another lot, or look in the fabled note number book, which probably exists in some music book, some music shops somewhere, if the shop's ever open again. It's locked down, by the way, at the moment. So one of the many beauties of note numbers is that if you improvise a nice melody, you can just write down the numbers and then go to bed with peace of mind. It's an instant way to write down exactly what you play, note-wise anyway, not the rhythm. And we want to write down what we play if we come up with something that we like, in the absence of actually writing on the traditional music stave, which is a much larger, much bigger body of knowledge than just writing 8 numbers down. So, next step, put a metronome on and play the different note numbers from the scale per click randomly. That's improvising. If you play the notes randomly, in other words, not from a note row, but literally randomly from your head, that is improvising. If you remember what you just played, and you play the same thing again, that is no longer improvising. That's called playing a part. So often we might improvise, come up with something we particularly like, and then stick to that. We're making a part then, aren't we? We might write the part down and stick to that in future. Or we might get bored and then improvise some more and write a new part down. As soon as we write it down as if it needs to be repeated, then it's no longer improvising. In the absence of a score, if you can't remember what you just played, then you are definitely improvising. So that's how you know that you're improvising. Next step is to vary the length of the notes. That is slightly more sophisticated improvising. So improvising with equal lengths of note against a metronome. Equal length of note. Great, it might be fantastic for what you want, but to give us more options, we want to vary the length of the note. Simply putting in longer notes and shorter notes. That's it. So it doesn't have to be rocket science. Again, you can lengthen or shorten the notes at random. That's improvising. Again, it's not going to change the world, but I was making that up just using note numbers from the scale and varying the length of the notes. That's all musicians do when they improvise. Of course, sometimes it sounds great, sometimes not so, it depends. So in a nutshell, again, improvising is imagination, which is good because imagination is free. Tips for being imaginative. There are only 7 notes in most scales, so, but the order and rhythm make the notes come alive. So concentrate on rhythm. You can create endless rhythms. simply with the following technique. Say what you see, if you can see. Say what you see. I'm videoing with my smartphone at the moment, so I can say my rather old phone is on a mic stand. Doesn't matter what the subject is. That immediately gives me a rhythm. Every sentence is a rhythm. My rather old phone, did I say iPhone? My smartphone. My rather old phone is on a mic stand. My rather old phone is on a mic stand. My rather old phone is on a mic stand. My rather old phone is on a mic stand. Again, it's not going to change the world, but that is the easiest way of getting a rhythm. And all a great melody, whatever a great melody is, all it is a mixture of note numbers and a rhythm. That's all. Note numbers and rhythm. If I looked at something else, I would come up with a different rhythm. Even if it's just a rhythm of equal length notes. My tea is cold. Even by just saying that sentence, we have a beginning and an end. My tea is cold. That immediately has rhythm, because stopping a note gives it rhythm until we start another note. My tea is cold. If I do the same rhythm with different notes, my tea is cold, my tea is cold. Again, we can go on ad infinitum with different rhythms and different note numbers. Like a game of chess, as soon as you start to put variations in, there's more variations than, atoms in the universe or something like that. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. So every sentence is a rhythm. And that technique always works, because sometimes our brain goes a bit numb and we can't think of things that we think are creative. So just look around you. Anything, it doesn't matter. Most of the things that we say in a rhythmic fashion, unless you're a computer. And they're getting better at that as well, aren't they? But we can normally tell when a computer's reading some dialogue, some words, because it sounds ridiculous. So, to conclude, improvisation is imagination, based on a little bit of knowledge of your instruments. Individual notes are normally learnt initially by learning scales, which is just a set of notes in order of pitch. First pitch, the next highest pitch, the next highest pitch, and we number these sets of ascending pitches in order: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is an octave above pitch 1, therefore 8 is double the frequency, but now we're getting slightly onto a different subject. So, to conclude again, improvisation is imagination, so we should all have it. And so it really is infinity in a nutshell, especially if your name is Hamlet.